this year, as well as how our bonus is going to work. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in chat, raise your hand, and we'll try and get to you either at the end or have one of the MTLs reply to chat during. So first and foremost, we're going to go over the preseason bonus. So it's going to be measured from April 21st through June 30th. And you'll see on the top right here is how it's going to be calculated, right? So it's district productivity target. Our target is 0.31 productivity. Our district client target, which is going to be 2515. And then if those together combine to hit our bonus, which is going to be equal to 3 or 4% of revenue, that calculation is down here. So if the district achieves a productivity and the client target, each preseason tax pro will get a percent of their revenue based on their individual volume. So if you do 0 to 4 returns, 0%. Everyone working preseason should hopefully be doing more than 4 returns this preseason. If you do between 5 and 34 returns, you'll get 3% of revenue, and 35 or more returns is 4% of revenue. I just realized I forgot to start recording, so I'm going to go ahead and start that.
I already got you.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Hey, one thing, Dylan, if I could jump in.
Yeah.
So 0.31, can you explain that? Because if my rudimentary math is correct, that means like for every 3 hours worked, we needed 1 return paid. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. So if you're confused about that productivity measurement, that is on the next slide, so we'll cover that here in a second. But as far as to be clear about revenue, so the revenue is anything for tax prep, peace of mind revenue, tax identity shield, for any Emerald cards, client extensions, business services, and TNS. All count as revenue. Important to note there, TNS revenue does count, right? So this is a huge incentive to make sure we are charging for TNS. We should not be handling any letters without going through proper channels. We'll cover that in a minute here. And then just to make sure we're abundantly clear on that, the revenue that does not count as refund transfer fees, Emerald advance fees, and tax planning revenue. Like Matt said, our goal for productivity is 0.31. Goal for returns is 2515. Productivity roughly works out to doing 1 return every 3 hours. And again, depending on your total return count at the end of preseason, you will hit 3% or 4% of revenue, assuming districts hits productivity and client target. So if you're wondering what productivity is, we have the kind of long answer and then the short answer. So hours of work today times your hourly wage would be today's labor. Total revenue for the day divided by today's labor is your productivity rate. An easier way to think about this is returns per hour. So 0.31 productivity would be 0.31 returns every hour, or roughly 1 return every 3 hours. So that's kind of the technical way of thinking about it, and the very easy way of thinking about it, productivity, if you stick whatever decimal we're talking about in front of returns. So in this case, 0.31, that would be 0.31 returns done every hour. Most of you have gotten my email about the badges. I do apologize for, I know a lot of you reached out about the who you're going to call badge. That has been delisted, so you don't have to worry about that. And many of you have already completed these, but if you have not, here are the 5 badges to complete before preseason of tax season 22. Oops. So we have video appointments, tax notice services, fulfillment network badge, TRS, and the approve online badge. All 5 of these have A, really good content, but B, really strong content for working in preseason, especially if this is your first preseason. I would even go further. There's extended lessons on both tax notice service and tax resolution systems to dive into more so you fully understand that. And we are going to dive a little bit into it today. Continuing education. If you are on this call, you're a preseason tax professional. We want our CE done by June 15th of 2022. If for whatever reason you cannot complete your continuing education by June 15th, please email me directly and we can talk about what's going on. And if you have worked preseason before and we have not made this deadline, let's chat. Feel free to reach out to me. We can put together something that works for your schedule to make sure that we have everyone hitting by June 15th. Virtual components. So many of you have heard this within the office, but if you haven't heard it already, we'll put it out there in nice big bold letters here. The goal of 30% is going to increase to 50% virtual tool usage on July 1st, 2022. Our district goal starting July 1st, 2022 is 60% virtual, right? So no different than this last tax season. 30% was our actual goal, but we went for 40% because we are the best district and we strive to continue that standard. And so with our 50% goal, we will be shooting to 60%. So you're going to hear that number a lot. When it comes to hitting that number, again, you have your 4 tools. You have your text upload, your approve online, your digital drop off, and your video call. if we're doing the math right, we're asking that basically 1 in every 2 turns is including that one of those 4 virtual tools. If you need additional training on that, there's plenty of good badges. Also, a lot of the members of the preseason team are people that did exceptionally well in this realm. So watch and learn from your peers as far as what they do, because a lot of them have crushed their virtual goals. If you are struggling, please, please, please reach out to your peers, reach out to your preseason managers, reach out to me and Matt. We have ways to help you succeed. We want to see you succeed. We don't put a goal on you just for the sake of doing it. We genuinely want you to hit targets and build you up to be able to do that consistently. So if you have any issues with that, please just talk to us, and we will find a way to get what you need and make it happen for you. Big one is there will be a daily tracker. So every day that you're working in preseason, there will be a Microsoft form. It will look similar to this. It's still in development, so it should come out pretty shortly here. When it does, we'll email it directly to all of you. It should just be a few questions to fill out. What are you working on? What's total revenue for the day? How many hours did you work? How many virtual tools did you use? Anything else you want to add? Again, these questions may change, but it'll be something along those lines. And this is to be completed at every shift. This will be tracked at both the district and the nationwide level. So if we don't build the good habit of getting this done, then we're going to be chasing our tails all season. And when things start to get busy, the last thing we want to do is have to worry about adherence on a report. So let's build good habits early on that, and we won't have anything to worry about. All right, going into TRS, this is a bulk of business in preseason. TRS, the acronym we're using stands for Tax Resolution System. I'm sure a lot of you that have worked preseason are familiar with it. TRS is comprised of 5 different workflows, being peace of mind and standard guarantee claims, fee refund claims, tax identity shield claims, tax notice services, and manual 2228 workflows. For a lot of you, you'll be working primarily in POM and fee refund and tax notice services, but you will occasionally have to go into tax identity shield or even manual 2228s when we have issues with doing any refund transfer errors or fee refunds that can't be entered into TRS. I will point out, and this does get pointed out later, managers cannot do any fee refund claims. So you may get asked by a manager to submit a fee refund claim. Just know that that is perfectly ordinary. We just don't have the access to do it ourselves. The important part as we go into preseason is not jumbling up different client data, especially when it comes to tax resolution services and tax notices. So please make sure you're familiar with how to go in and do claim assignment status and notes. You can see it over here. The primary buttons you'll be using are this information tab, and you can go into edit workflow for different assignments. If you want to make notes, you go to the little square with a pencil on it on the top right and add new note. Notes should be made anytime a letter is received, a workflow is started, a client is contacted. We really rely on these notes being up to date to be able to help clients that have issues during the preseason, and having good notes is pivotal in being able to do that well. Otherwise, we end up spending a ton of time, money, and resources chasing and trying to figure out the whole story, which of course kills our productivity. As far as letters coming in, for every single letter that comes to the door, the first step will always be to start TRS. If you don't know how to do this, in Work Center, you will hit Add New Center, start TRS workflow. There should be detailed notes all the way through, and you should set expectations with the client. Be clear and add these discussed expectations in your claim notes as far as what you have told them. There should be no work done until the TNS service fee is paid, and keep in mind that can be paid by phone. Come back to the claim in TRS to add notes at every single update or contact with the client. And these notes will flow to the Work Center notes so that we can easily review them. And there's a really good example here today. If we look at this TRS case over here, there is a note at every single contact. We have the initial consultation. 2 days later, the response was faxed. About a month later, a new notice was received. 18 days later, we faxed the second response. A month later, we got another IRS notice. Then a month later, a tax court petition sent. Everything is refaxed. Everything on here, this is a perfect TRS case. And then if you look into the notes, when you go into it, today the client brought into the office a copy of a check made out to Oregon. However, it's dated 6/2/21. The provided check has no bearing on the Oregon letter for 2020. I called and left a voicemail to the client that we have received her check copy, but that we need to discuss. This is what every single contact should look like. Take the time to go in, add that note and make sure that everybody that goes into it can know exactly what's going on. If you take your 8-week break and we need somebody else to step in to help a client, we need to be able to see where they're at. And clients get extremely frustrated, and rightfully so, when we have to call them and say, all right, can you walk me through everything that's happened so far? And a lot of times they might not remember, or they may unintentionally give us bad information that sets us back. And again, it will kill our productivity. Now, peace of mind claims. They always get, yep.
Can you back up one slide? Can I jump in?
Yeah.
For a second. All right. One thing I just wanted to add, guys, is that over the years, let's call it the last decade or more, one of the things that that our offices, or a lot of times that we fall into a trap of doing from a business culture standpoint, is we give away our work all the time during the summer. We give away our time, we give away our hours. And what I mean by that is people come in and say, I've got this letter, I need consultation time on it. Sometimes it can take 10 minutes, sometimes it can take 3 hours. We don't really know until we really get into it. One thing that to be very clear on is that when you're engaged with a TRS or a tax notice service letter, we do charge for that. And every service has a retail value, but that retail value, if we made a mistake or there's a reason why it shouldn't be charged for, that retail value can be deducted, no problem, to zero. But always start with the consultation quotation that this will be $99 and up, or and potentially higher. So start there, and then you'll be always in a safe camp that way. Do not give away work, because we can't run 14, 15 offices open all summer long, staffed big into the gills, if we give away 4 or 5 hours of time at every office every single day. So TRS and TNS is to be charged for. However, if it is our fault, we can deduct that retail value again to zero, but always understand that there is a value to it. So hopefully said that kind of simply that way, but always start with the fact that there will be a charge, and again, it can be deducted. So, and I know there'll probably be some questions later, but I'll just kind of wanted to put that statement out there before you moved on.
Yes, and definitely, and keep in mind, right, the company as a whole, right, we know how many people come in with letters, and we know how much we charge to deal with letters. And again, we have a district revenue goal, right, and a client return goal, and all of these things are calculated against our productivity. So if we are not charging for these letters that come in, you are hurting your own ability and the entire district's ability for tax pros to receive their bonus. So like Matt said, it's imperative to make sure that we're not doing any free work. If we did the work for free, then the argument gets even kind of bigger on a meta level. Why do we even bother with peace of mind, right? The whole point of peace of mind is to provide this service for clients. Those that do not have that route, they should be coming in and you get in the mindset that you deserve to be paid for the work. I mean, many of you have years of experience dealing with IRS, dealing with letters. You've done years of continuing education and extra classes to learn this. You deserve to bring in revenue for your services and helping people with their tax issues. Going on to POM claims, speaking of which, again, I just want to reiterate, POM claims begin after the error has been determined and the damage has been calculated. After, right? We don't start a POM claim before without knowing that. A TNS workflow is often needed before we even get to the POM claim. So when that first letter comes in, we should already have that workflow going. And an amendment to reflect any corrections is required in BlockWorks before you enter a POM claim. We have to show the amendment with the fix required in BlockWorks before you can enter it. You should always clarify with the POM claim clients that these are reimbursements. They have to pay the balance at the time of the assessment, and then we will reimburse once the claim is approved. Be careful about saying POM will pay for the balance. The client pays for the balance, we reimburse. And always treat POM claims as if you were arguing in a court of law. Claims processors need specific detail and rely on the legal guidelines of a POM guarantee. They will not approve claims that do not meet the legal criteria. What I mean by this is, if you are submitting a POM claim, the comment shouldn't be, yeah, his return was a little weird, but we fixed it, right? It should be in detail. This is what was wrong. This is the issue. This is how we fixed. And very elaborate but plain English, right? If you have vague notes in there, you're going to get the runaround from claims as far as whether or not they'll approve it. The easiest way to get a POM claim through is putting in specific details. Fee refunds. Again, managers cannot submit, so we do need tax pros to input these. You may be asked to enter a fee refund for a manager. This is totally ordinary. And if it's more just so that if you get that call from us, you're not wondering why we're asking you. We're asking you because we physically cannot do it ourselves. How much should be refunded? Generally speaking, a full refund of fees is rare. Fee refund amounts should be based on how much of the return was inaccurate. For example, if you missed a $1 in interest, we're not going to refund a $500 return, right? This doesn't happen as much, but for those of you that deal with clients that do have state returns, if you made a state-only error, we should only be refunding the state cost unless it directly affected the federal return as well. But a state-only error should be a refund of the state cost only. For an example of a fee refund, this is a good example of submitting a claim for it. We have the client name, social, date of birth, and the amount. And then look at the reason. Client incredibly unhappy with the delay in a refund due to tax pro error of misreporting CTC. The tax pro amended return, but client is demanding refund of fees due to the delay, requesting partial refund of fees. That is a great example of a fee refund being submitted properly. Tax health history review. It's going to be hard to go completely in detail into this without spending a very long time, but there is a very good article on it. If you go in DNA and type in tax health history, the link is also down here. It'll guide you through this. So the tax health history review is a great tool during preseason. If by using that, you can get a tax health check, which will show your past 3 years of tax history, and it will compare your past returns to any reported income by the IRS. This can help you find if there was any missed credits or deductions and spot any inaccuracies that might increase your risk of receiving an IRS notice, and make sure that you are aware of and understand any active issues with the IRS. This also helps you take advantage of money saving opportunities. If you have a client that's unsure about their taxes in the past year or unsure about how accurate their prior tax preparer was, or if they were preparing it themselves, tax health history review is a great way to easily get their information. You fill out the 8821. This form will give us the permission to gather your tax history directly from the IRS. It's important that, of course, that the information matches what the IRS has on file, otherwise it might be rejected. Sometimes the IRS will send a copy of your completed form, and if you want to correct the form, bring it to us and update the information so we can complete the service. Following the review, we'll notify the IRS, which may send a letter. This letter will reference that you are no longer represented by H&R Block. Don't be alarmed. This just means that your tax health check is complete. If you're wondering kind of a basic overview on how it works, if you give us the IRS permission, we take care of the rest. We get the personal information that matches your tax return and your contact information. If you do hear from the IRS at any time, they should still contact us, but we usually reach out in a few weeks. I think right now, last we heard, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks on average. Your returns have been reviewed. We'll talk about our findings and any next steps that need to be taken. And if you decide that you want to cancel your free review, the client can call the office anytime and we can cancel this process. Again, any resources for this can be found in DNA just by searching tax health history. Again, to reiterate it even more, notes is going to be the key word this season, right? Especially since we have tax pros that have gone inactive, and you're going to see returns that are being reassigned. You may get returns reassigned to you. You may see offices that are getting returns piled into them. Notes are going to be the easiest way to make that work less overwhelming and understand where we stand at all times. The expectation, especially if you are taking over a return from a tax pro that's not working preseason, is that there are consistent, detailed, and clear notes throughout the entire process that you are serving them, as well as dates, when you started, what conversations, what was stated, and what next steps are needed. Here's an example of a fantastic work center note on a client. I left a voicemail today stating that they can pick up their physical documents in the office at West 11th until 5:20. Docs will be shredded on 5:21. We will be sure all docs are scanned into Work Center before shred. Use the Work Center notes section of the client's profile for general notes that may not apply to TRS claims. Left voicemail for client, just rereading that one. But this is an example of what a really good note looks like and what we should have on every single TNS, POM claim, and active hold that we're working on in preseason. As far as our WIPs, whenever we make a follow-up call, a text, or a message, or a mailing going out to the client, we need to log the note. So we have a contact here, for example, it says, contact client. They were out of town until next week and he wants an in-office appointment, so I made him one with Garth. We will email and let her know. Again, if you type in the notes under here, you have to hit save note. We should be setting expectations and noting them. Every conversation should end with this, especially with our TRS flows. Details on what steps will be required through a process. For example, I will first need to request your transcripts, then I will review and follow up with you. You should hear from me in 2 to 3 weeks with more detail. And give them honest timelines. For example, especially with POM claims, this is important. After I submit your POM claim, it typically takes 6 to 8 weeks to be reviewed and processed. I will let you know if they have any new questions through the process. Or once you provide me with a missing statement, I should be able to have your return completed within 1 to 2 weeks. This goes a very long way into your client satisfaction scores if you're open and transparent about your timelines. Another great example of an IRS notice when starting a TNS claim over here. Taxpayer received another IRS letter. The IRS acknowledged that they did disallow the income at the start of the year due to taxpayer filing before his employer had submitted W-2. After reviewing our first submission, they have corrected to allow the income. Now they want proof for head of household and CTC and EIC. We had previously submitted the proofs they had gathered for that, but IRS has not acknowledged the January 18th response submitted. Waiting on taxpayer to provide more proofs per child, he was directed to gather a written statement from DHS stating that his child lives in his home and was on his DHS case with specific dates. Great letter. Talks about what has happened, what was said, where they're at with it, and what the expectation is and what was told to the client. So we're right at the end here. I just wanted to kind of break it all down. I know it's a lot of information, especially in the TNS area. These are our expectations if you are working preseason. Your badges should be complete by April 30th. All of your continuing education should be done by June 15th. Every TRS and TNS claim, again, that's any letters, audits, other IRS or state correspondence, must be scanned into Work Center and a claim started. We must receive payment for these services unless they have POM. Tracker forms should be completed daily. Any and all client appointments have to be on appointment manager schedules, including work appointments, so that we can see what's going on and how you're being productive. This helps us move work around and make sure that we're not overloading. If you don't have any work on your schedule, it looks like you're open and we may shift clients over to you. So if you are genuinely busy or serving a client at that time, have them on the schedules. Lydia Rand and Lua Fletcher are our CDAS captains for the district. If you cannot cover an appointment that you've been scheduled for in any of our seasonal closed offices, please reach out to her immediately, as well as any scheduling concerns. Again, Lydia and Lua are the front of CDAS, so any appointments that are made on the client side, as well as any scheduling issues for preseason, they are your first line to go through. I will put their information in the chat here for both of them, so that if you have any scheduling issues, you can reach out to them. Next is virtual tools. Again, the goal is 30% through 30th and 60% after July 1st. We will start working towards the 60% now. So you should be going out and aiming for at the very least 1 out of every 2 or 6 out of 10, if we're being a little more accurate, of every client should be using a virtual tool to complete. That's text uploads, approve onlines, digital drop-offs, and video calls. And this, I do want to clarify something, just to make sure there's no confusion on it. If the return gets finished and then the client uploads a document, it does not count as a virtual tool. The document has to be uploaded before the return is finished. And finally, and this is the most important, have some fun this preseason, and we'll try and get a little time to relax and breathe after another crazy tax season. I know that we can accomplish everything we're setting out to. You guys are the best district out there. It's my pleasure working with you, and we're gonna crush some goals this season, and I'm really excited for it. All right. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead. I didn't see if we had any chat pop-ups.
No, no chats. Excellent deck there, Dylan, and appreciate you walking through all that stuff. Guys, we have a decent crew on, like 20, 30 people, I think. So any kind of Q&A sort of topics that you guys want to bring up right now? Sorry, I'm in front of this window, so I look like a ghost again. It's always like this complete sun hits me.
Matt, your skincare, you're glowing.
Right, yeah.
All right, just one more second. If you have any questions, raise a hand, come off mute, put it in chat. I'm going to put Lydia and Lua's emails are going into chat right now. I'll also say them out loud since we're on recording. Gene.rand at tax.hrblock.com for Lydia, and Lua.Fletcher at tax.hrblock.com for Lua.
And Dylan, will you be emailing out the deck to all this entire list then?
Yeah, I can do that.
So you email out the deck, and then with the contact information. That way everybody's got one access point they can go to there. Looks like we do have some chat that came in here.
Yeah, so first off, CE classes, why so soon? So CE is to get ready for the upcoming tax season, right? If you're working preseason, these are all concepts that need to be applied now because you're working preseason, right? On top of that, this is one thing that I'm sure you guys know. We chase this every single year, right? You guys have the time right now. Get ahead of it. Get them done so that we don't have to chase this when we're starting to look at all of these extensions that are coming. Okay, Matt?
Yeah, and I will tell you guys, it's something that I've done up north in Seattle for like the last 7 years. I know there might be a little bit of a difference with some of the offices further south having that kind of that date as a deadline. It's definitely something that we strive for, to be ahead of the curve, and especially with kind of the hand selected preseason team that's some of the best out there. We want to be done and ahead of that cycle. So I hear you, Dorothy, on that. I do, but it's something that culturally will be adding to this district because this district is now more of a year-round district than it ever was in the past, if that makes sense. So, out of 23 offices, we're going to have 60+% of those offices open. So, so we're 4 year-round, more robust, et cetera. So we want to be ahead of that pace in that cycle, and that's the goal. If you're on preseason, if you have a challenge with it, then just connect with Dylan and I as a one-off, though, and we will be able to discuss it and talk about it. But that's definitely the expectation there.
Yep.
All right, let's see. So, and I'll read the one, and maybe you can answer. We'll ping pong back and forth here, Dylan. So, Angela wrote a good question here. So just to clarify, if HRB made a mistake on a return and we're correcting it with or without an IRS letter, we still need to start TRS and then zero it out. Yes, unless that's. So it will still have, it still has to be representative of a retail value for your services rendered. And so we want to make sure that you always are quoting, we'll start at 99. However, if it definitely is our fault, we can deduct that to zero. Yep. And anybody with any peace of mind at all, whether it's their fault, our fault, it doesn't matter. They have a country club access to us for free for any consultation appointments year round. It's part of the value of peace of mind and why it makes it, elevates it even higher there.
And then Dorothy, I just want to make sure you're seeing Lua's responses there. No worries about not working preseason before. That's exactly why we do this call. We bring on new people all the time. If you want to see hours for your specific office, the easiest way is to go into Appointment Manager. When you're looking at the office, there's a little eye right next to the office that will show you the office hours for that week. And Molly, yes, we will. We're not going to work on the goals. We're going to hit the goals. That's awesome. And then Deborah Keene, virtual instructor classes don't start till the end of June. I'd love to see ones be able to take them as part of their CE hours.
Yeah, let's dialogue one off about that. That makes sense to me. Yeah. So let's just see what you're thinking about there. But I like the idea. So let's talk about that.
All right, and we'll give it a couple more minutes if anybody wants to type anything into chat. Any questions we can go over. Vicky, I love that too. We hear you. No worries. Awesome. Okay, with that, I will go ahead and email that deck out to you. Again, if you have any scheduling questions, this is a good time to get it taken care of. Lua is on the chat right now. Lydia's on the chat right now. Both of their emails are in the chat box. If you have any questions, concerns about them, they will be your first line as far as getting those addressed, as well as any CDAS concerns. Please remember, if for whatever reason you have a CDAS appointment and you are unable to make that appointment, we need to be notified as soon as possible so we can make sure we can make other arrangements for the client and they are not left hanging. That is the biggest heartburn of preseason, is those moments when a client's waiting at an office and nobody shows up. And I'm sure you guys can imagine how that would feel being in the client's shoes when you think you have an appointment and you show up and nobody's there. So we want to avoid that. We understand life comes up, totally fine, but let us know so that we can let the client know and make proper arrangements for them so that they don't send you a nasty email. All right. Well, thank you so much for hopping on the call. I greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys in and around the offices. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. And once this recording finishes up, it'll take me a little bit of time to convert, but I will upload it online. So I'll also go ahead and send out that link to you guys, as well as the link to this deck in case you want to re-reference any of the materials. With that, good stuff. Enjoy your Thursday. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining.